Okay, what we are doing here is we are looking at the Rixson H117 pivot, and let's take a look at the template first. All we're really going to do here is show how the door articulates through the opening, but also show what sort of minimum dimension you're going to end up achieving as a result of the pivot point, the radius on the edge of the door, and what that might and what that dimension would be, and what that same dimension might be if you left the door square edged. So let's take a stab at doing this. So we have AutoCAD open here, and the first thing that I know from the template is that we're dealing with a 2 3/4 inch dimension from the edge of the door. Pardon me, 2 3/4 inch dimension from the jamb to the vertical axis of pivoting. 2 3/4. Okay. And they're showing that the margin between the edge of the door and the jamb is going to be 1/8 of an inch. And it's not directly spelled out, but they're telling us that we need a 2 5/8 radius. So 2 5/8 radius to the edge of the door is 2 5/8. So we need a radius on the edge of the door at 2 5/8 from the vertical axis of pivoting. But we also know that it's 2 3/4 inch from the jamb to the vertical axis of pivoting. So 2 3/4 minus 2 5/8 is our 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so we're just going to demonstrate what that looks like. So let's take a look here. So I just have a jamb that's drawn here, and what I'm going to do is draw a line, and simply going to bring that over 2 3/4 inch, and that's just really going to be my dimension line. Well, not my dimension line. It's going to show me where my vertical axis of pivoting has to be, right here. So now we know that with the H117, according to the manufacturer's documentation for the H117, that the side load arm, which is the 587 arm we're working with, is designed for a 1 3/4 inch thick door at a minimum, 1 3/4 inch thick. So let's draw in a door. So we'll grab a polyline and we're just going to draw we're going to go 7/8 up in this direction. We'll just come back, 5 1/2 like it's drawn. We're going to come down 1 3/4 inch. We'll come back over here, okay. 5 1/2. I'm going to bring it right here. Now that's going to show, that's our door. So if we were to, and this margin in here, by the way, is 1/8 of an inch. Our dimensions, got 1/8 of an inch in here, okay, which is according to the template. So now let's take this object and let's rotate it as a square-edged object. I'm going to select the object that we're going to rotate. Okay. Specify the base point, which is right here. Okay, now we're going to be able to rotate this object. I have ISO turned on. Let's turn that off. So now you can see that we've got a problem here. We're breaching through there by a substantial amount, by a 1/16 of an inch. Even, yeah, so a 1/16 of an inch we're breaching through is what we're doing there. So that is where that 2 5/8 radius is going to come from. Okay, now let's trim this unit up a little bit. Let's draw a circle. And an expert at AutoCAD I am not, that's to be sure. But we're going to leave that circle there. Then we're going to get into trim. And what we're going to do is end up making this look like a door edge with a 2 5/8 radius. So I'm going to clean up some of these items. I don't need my little cheat line anymore. Then let's group all of this. Okay, now let's get into trim. Here's trim. Let's get rid of some of these objects. Trim. Okay. Now, and fillet is another way that you can go about trimming items. And we're just going through trimming our objects. Okay, so we've got what kind of looks like a door here, I suppose. Take this and we can extend it out to make it look more like a door, I suppose. Now, the next test here is to see what that door looks like as it articulates through its opening. So I'm going to add back my little reference line for 2 3/4. Then we're going to rotate. We've selected our object. Actually, what I want to do is first, I want to select this object and group it. Then I'm going to add back my reference point. Our line's a little bit small. Okay. Now, let's rotate. Let's select the object. Specify the base point. Right there. Turn off our ISO. Now you can see how smoothly that goes through here. And this is obviously really helpful when you are trying to determine what sort of margin that you need. But what we're doing here is we are maintaining our 1/8 of an inch dimension throughout the entire cycle of the opening, and that's where 2 5/8 comes from. It doesn't ever get us any closer to the door than 1/8 of an inch is the bottom line. So, as we demonstrated earlier with the square edge door, it was breaching through at least a 1/16 of an inch. So you'd really have to take that door, the gap from the edge of the door in here, well, here actually. Yeah, that's 1/8 of an inch in there. You'd really have to take that and increase it to at least 3/16 to be safe. At least. And I'll pause. Actually, let's just take a look. Let's remove our angle there, our radius edge, and then let's just give ourselves a square edge door. Now let's measure our distance of what we have there so that we know. Okay, so that's 9/32 of an inch. So that's pretty heavy on a 1/4 inch. That's heavy on 1/4 inch. So it's a little bit too large for us. Getting our door repositioned. Okay, we've now got it repositioned to 3/16, I believe. Let's take a look. Yeah, 3/16. We've got a 3/16 gap. So let's go back and let's add our, let's rotate this. That base point is going to be 2 3/4 from here. Okay, there's our base point. I was adding the dimension that popped up, I was adding 2 3/4 to it. So you can see that at 3/16 you won't have trouble but the dimension in here and actually what I want to do is get the door closer to 45 degrees. So we'll undo that rotate. Let's rotate. Select the object. Okay. Our base point. (1638.75). That did not work. Rotate, select the object. 1838 75 16. That's what my mistake was. I put in 18. It's 1638. Okay, so let's get that rotating through there. And let's get it to 45 degree. And I'll just eyeball it rather than... Well, I'll just do it correctly. That's at 45 degree. Now, let's measure what our distance is at 45 degree. I have my snap spacing on my grid giving me a little bit of trouble. So it's... And showing it at 45 was giving us 9/32 of an inch, but that's really not where it's going to be closest to making contact. And where it's going to be closest to making contact is going to be right at about 30 degree would be my guess. No, less than that. Let's rotate. Our base point. Yeah, about 15 degree. Looks like it's pretty close. Let's measure what that distance is. A 1/16 of an inch. Really, yeah, it's a 1/16. So be mindful. If you're leaving a square edge door, you'll have to have a minimum of 3/16 just to theoretically work. And it's really not going to theoretically work with only a 1/16. So, you know, increasing that margin to a 1/4 inch is probably where you'll need to be to establish an 1/8 of an inch margin. So let's go ahead and test that, but I'll pause the video while I do that. So we've got that door moved over to a 1/4 inch dimension in here. Yeah, 0.25. So let's go ahead and let's rotate this. Select our base point. Two and 3/4. So let's put this now over to 15 degree rotation. Let's now get in here and measure what that becomes. So it's 3/32 now, and that's at a 1/4 inch margin. So let's move it to 5/16 and see if that'll get us to an 1/8 of an inch at 15 degree. Okay, we have the door moved over to 5/16 margin. 5/16. Let's go ahead and rotate it now. Specify our base point. Oops. Let's put in our 15 degree angle. Let's zoom in and let's measure. 5/32 of an inch. So while we're, increasing our margin, we're really not, doing it, that's just a 32nd heavy on 1/8 of an inch. So you can see how the gap to achieve basically 1/8 of an inch needs to be 5/16 of an inch here. So the bottom line is it's an 1/8 of an inch margin if you have a 2 5/8 it's an 1/8 of an inch margin if you have a 2 5/8 radius on the edge of your door. If you want to leave it as square edge, you're going to have to increase that to basically 5/16 so that you still don't, you're not still getting closer to the jamb than an 1/8 of an inch. So this long video was to demonstrate, albeit a bit clunky, how that worked, and I will summarize that in the title. Thank you very much. If there's any questions on this or any other pivot, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.